Okay. So this is everything since they had their dev blog, like, what, I don't know, what a week ago? They released this 2 or 3 days ago. And we're what? We're 4 days out from the season. This actually isn't all the changes. If you play on PvE, you'll know for a fact, like, there is more things than this. So the first thing, Gragas W damage reduction was reduced. And I actually don't know why they did this. So in my opinion, Gragas is a weak champion, right? And they've just reduced his damage reduction. Or I guess they've increased it. Okay. They increased his damage reduction from 2, 4, 6, 8% per level. The issue with reducing his flat damage reduction is Gragas becomes a tank if you increase his damage reduction too much. But I guess they're not increasing the HP scaling, so it helps out both builds. But I think Gragas is just generally a weak champion, so I think a change like this is good. It's not a massive change. I still think Gragas has issues with like being a little bit clunky. He's not super good into the assassin meta, whatever. Next we have Tahm Kench. Gray health to HP conversion is increased. That makes a lot of sense. One of the ways you beat Tahm Kench is by letting him accumulate gray health, and he can turn his gray health into shielding. But if it then goes back into health in like a couple seconds, you're kind of winning the trade because he doesn't actually heal that much off of it. So, but he's a weak champion. I do think this is removing some of the counterplay to playing against Tahm Kench, so I don't love the change. But in general, he's so weak that, like, who really cares? Tahm Kench top and support are both pretty bad. Taliyah, Q per rock base damage increased. Q per bonus monster damage per rock increased. Or decreased. Okay. So they're trying to make it... Wait. Decreased. Decreased. This is just a nerf. Why is this in the buff section? Okay, so they nerfed Taliyah. That's stupid as hell. Why? Maybe because BFT? I thought the champion was kind of weak. Okay. Well, all right. They nerfed Taliyah like barely, so it's like 0.5%. Who really cares? All right. Warwick. Passive on hit damage 6 to 46, 6 to 55. I think that Warwick is fine in lane and early game in jungle. I have not seen so much Warwick top, but I hate it when the champion's viable. I think it's terrible for the game. I think it's terrible for the meta's top lane. If you hate playing against Darius, Warwick is 10 times worse. But I do think that a buff to Warwick late game is necessary because he's just so useless in scrappy team fights. He can't really front to back. Like, he's a bad champion. And so I think a buff like this is probably needed. But it's a very small buff because think about like 9 damage on hit late game. It's not that much. Even though his Q applies it and his ult applies it, it's not that much. Next, we have Ambessa. This is the biggest nerf you could possibly give a champion like Ambessa. This basically makes her ult a dodgeable spell. Right now, if she presses her ult perfectly when you're in a movement or an animation, you can't dodge. So, I kind of think that this is a bad nerf. I think this is a crazy nerf. Like, in high elo, this makes Ambessa's ultimate significantly worse because it's no longer oh, I'm just going to press this on you. It's a skill shot. It's like, I actually have time to dodge this if I have enough movement speed. Therefore, you can't just click the button because even if you press it right onto me, as long as I walk in a direction, I'll probably dodge it. Or if I'm fast enough at reacting. 0.7 seconds is a lot. Average person's like 0.2% or 0.2 seconds reaction time. You can dodge this now. So I think this is a really, really big nerf, like a 2% win rate nerf. But I do think Ambessa's broken. I'm happy they did this. This champion terrorizes high elo, but... yeah, overall, like, this is a much bigger nerf than I think people will think. Next, we have Briar. Health growth is down by 5. I don't care. I don't care. Like, this doesn't really do anything, so I'm just going to move on. They love to change Briar for no reason. What even is this? Ezreal, more incentives to build AP. Kennen, incentives to build on hit. Okay, this is from before. If you know, you know. But basically, like, yeah, they just gave Ezreal AP ratios. They gave Kennen some bonus crit ratios. They said on hit here, so maybe I'll try to look at that, and then we'll see what's going on there. Maybe they have more information somewhere else. All right, they reworked Shyvana. The base attack speed is up on Shyvana. The attack speed ratio is down. Okay, and AD growth is up. What does this mean? Base attack speed means, okay, has higher attack speed to start the game. Attack speed ratio means when you build attack speed items, let's say it gives you 40% attack speed, you then multiply it by this ratio to get your actual amount of attack speed. A champion with a really low attack speed ratio is LeBlanc at 0.4, which I think is actually the lowest in the game outside of like Graves and Jhin. The reason for that is AD LeBlanc was super broken. So 0.4 is really low. 0.8 is like, I think, the highest in the game. I think it's like something like that. This is a pretty Mid attack speed ratio, it's decently low. And I can see why they're nerfing it this way. They're trying to make attack speed items less good on Shyvana. Q passive, 1% plus 0.1% per 100 bonus AD. Starts maximum health to... Q passive, 1% plus 1.1% per bonus AD plus 1.1% per 100 AP of the target's maximum health. Arrow, 1% plus 1.1% per 100 bonus AD. So they removed the AP ratio? That's it? Wait, why? There weren't even... No one was building AP Shyvana. Wait, what? Okay. Oh, let's just keep reading. Q on hit reduction goes from 1 second to 0.5%, or to 0.5 seconds. Okay, so they're nerfing attack speed Shyvana, so the on hit reduction's less, which means that they're probably... Q cooldown ticks in the background if you don't finish the... Okay, that makes sense. We'll get to that. Q active 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, plus 110% AD, plus 25%. Okay, so they added a 5% AP ratio here and removed the AP ratio here. Oh, so they're removing her passive damage AP ratio and increasing the active damage AP ratio. So they're trying to make AP more bursty and less like consistent damage. This is a good change. I like that. Q cooldown ticks in the background, though I think this is probably a nerf overall. Q cooldown ticks in the background. If you do not finish the sequence, cooldown starts ticking at the last activated input in that sequence. This is pretty insanely big. This makes... I think the cooldown will now work like Riven Q, where once you press the first Q, it'll start ticking. And they're trying to make it so that, okay, it's better for you to like play burst and such. I like it. I think it's good. Overall, this is a nerf to AD for sure, and a small buff to AP. The issue Shyvana has is like, what does she build, right? Like, what do you build? I mean, it's hard. She didn't really have anything to build before. They didn't change the champion all that much, and they didn't introduce new items to help her. W cooldown is going from 14 to 12 to 13 to 9. Wow. Minus 3 seconds at max rank. Okay. 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, plus 5%. So plus bonus, 12% bonus health. Okay. So they're trying to incentivize bruiser builds, specifically health bruiser builds, like a champion like Kled. So they're trying to make her like more Titanic focused. Okay. I think that's interesting. I'm curious to see how that works out. The issue that champions in the jungle, especially a champion like Shyvana will have if they try to go towards Titanic, is Tiamat is a terrible item. If you already have like AoE in your kit, you don't need Tiamat. And Tiamat is 1,200 gold for 2080. Effectively useless. The active doesn't give you anything, and the passive doesn't give you anything outside of giving you AoD to help you clear your camps. Shyvana clearly doesn't need this. She has 2 spells that have AoE. She has some of the best Raptor clear in the entire game. Why would you want to build Titanic? You don't. So you build attack speed, you build crit, like whatever, right? So I think that this is pushing her in a direction that like fundamentally her champion doesn't really have items that she wants to build. And so if you're going to give her this massive bonus health ratio, she's sitting there like saying, okay, well, my first item, what items give bonus health that are good? Well, we have Titanic. I can't build Hullbreaker. There's Stair Axe, I guess. I can't really build that either first. She has no first item. So she's just going to sit here and be like, I guess maybe I build Kraken Slayer into health or something. Like she doesn't really have anything there. I think there's just a gap in the item marketplace that's fucking her up. The damage on W no longer scales with AD and scales with 65% AP. Wow. Up from 20%. Okay. Wow, that's a big change. All right. Well, they reduced the cooldown by so much as well. But I don't know why they did this. They didn't really give any massive buff to AD Shyvana here in this ability, but they've just reduced the damage flat out for AD Shyvana. All right. Cool. Dragon Form heal 75 to 214 based on level plus 10%. Yo, they got to make this simpler. Like, this is actually crazy. Plus 10% bonus AD plus 5% AP increased by 0 to 100% based on her missing health for a maximum heal of 150 to 429.41 based on level plus 20% bonus AD. Okay, so they increased its ratio. Wait, no, they didn't. Arrow. Wait, they just removed all this shit? Arrow, 60 to 100, plus 4 to 8% missing health based on level. Dog, you need to have a PhD to understand what this even means. Like, I would have to sit here with a calculator for 25 minutes. Nobody wants that, okay? This is probably a nerf. W move speed separate from shield. Yeah, I'm all good. 60 to 80 plus 4 to 8%. So it scales off of missing health mostly. instead of being more based on bonus AD and AP. So they're trying to make her a health bruiser. But Titanic Hydra sucks ball sacks, so she's not going to be. Well, maybe she'll just be useless unless they make Titanic Hydra a better item because the item sucks. Cooldown 12, 11.5, 11, 10.5, 10. To 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Okay, cooldowns once again are down, which incentivizes more spell rotations, kind of. 80 to 200, 35% AD plus 70% AP. To, whoa, base numbers are way down. Only increasing AP plus 5% target max health. But the AP ratio is down early. Subsequent damage against a single target, 50%, arrow 40%. Okay, so it reduces the damage if you hit them with multiple E missiles. Slow, 20 to 40%, arrow 30%. So they reduced all her cooldowns and then made her damage less. So they're trying to make her a bruiser with shorter cooldowns and less damage, but that's boring. This is boring. Like this is a boring way to change Shyvana. You want her to do less damage and be more cooldown reliant. I think they should have leaned into this health thing more and then just try to make Titanic a better item because both need to be put in tandem. You can't really make health bruisers the way that they're trying to do it. Kled is a unique one because Kled gets access to all the health items. He is very much so health bruiser, but he builds Hullbreaker because he can and because it's like one of the only health bruiser items that exists in the game. And if you're just a jungler trying to build health items, it doesn't work because you can't build it. Like, you physically cannot build Hullbreaker in the jungle. It's fucking terrible. So she's just in elo hell. Teemo, on hit Teemo. Okay, we'll look at that later. Movement from Q burst into Q bruiser. Okay. More AP incentives. Okay. Passive, right click range, 500 to 550. Okay. Who cares? This is like her little pew pew auto, not her like Q auto. Execute threshold. Oh, I hate this. Increase the burst on Zeri. I hate that. Damage 15 to 23 plus 1.04 to 1.280 to 21 to 33 plus 1.02 to 1.180. So more Q base damage, less scaling on it. Excess attack speed to AD conversion, 70% to 50%. Okay, what's the point? Like, what is the point of any of that? Like, you want her to build one Zeal item? Like, explain yourselves, motherfuckers. Why? Who cares? Well, like, this seems so redundant. Some of these changes, like, this seems so redundant. Zeri is OP with the new Shiv. That makes sense. Wall crit multiplier, 1.75 down to 1.5. AP ratio increased. So if it is the new Shiv, then why would you increase the AP ratio? Maybe they want her to build the new Shiv. I don't know. This is kind of weird. E, magic damage on hit. Up base. So a nerf to AD and a buff to AP right here because it removes the AD scaling, basically puts it into the base damage, and then still keeps the AP scaling. Okay, so a buff to AP. E cooldown, 22 to 18 to 24 to 18. Applies on attacks and abilities versus champions. Arrow applies on attacks versus everything. Oh my god. So she'll just have it up all the time when she's farming waves? Okay. I don't really care about that, actually. It's such a long cooldown. Okay. I mean, if you get it back because you hit the wave, that's fine. Burst AD ratio, 100% to 60%. Holy shit, that's a nerf. That's like minus 200 damage on her ult at max level. Okay. Movement speed per stack up. Stack duration up. So they're trying to make her less bursty and more of a longevity champion. Like, she's fighting for longer, more attack speed, more like movement speed. But I feel like these changes are very mixed. They're also trying to help AP. A lot of changes. Hard to see what this is actually going to do because there's new items that are being released that Zeri could reasonably be built, right? So we'll see what happens with Zeri, but Zeri at the moment is just a worse version of something like Yunara because she's paper thin and she has less agency and she's low-key like less skillful than something like Yunara, who has so much outplay potential. Zeri just kind of presses ult and tries to burst you. Zoe, E hits refund, 16 to 30% of cooldown when hitting an enemy champion. E cooldown 16 to 12, arrow 18 to 14, W bolt damage. Wait, okay. This doesn't make sense. So they increase the E cooldown. I don't know what this E hits refund means. I don't see anything else here, but they increase the E cooldown. The W bolt damage 160 to 180 plus 45% AP to 45 plus 1 to 165 plus 30% AP. So the W bolt damage went down. So they nerfed Zoe. Who was complaining about Zoe? Let's see if there's anything else here on Spider Axe's Twitter. Huh. Okay. That's interesting. All right. Okay, so they nerfed Zoe. Let's go to the bottom here. Let's see everything we can find. Okay. All right. This seems like everything. Okay, Riftbound, well, we don't care about that. All right, our cast time, we saw that. Health growth, we saw that. We saw this. Saw this. We saw this. We saw this. We saw this. Endless Hunger. Melee ability haste increased from 10% bonus AD to 13%, ranged unchanged. Okay, so they've increased the ability haste for melee champions from 10% bonus AD to 13%. So they've buffed the item, which I would say is probably the best item in the game. I would say it's the best item in the game. This item gives you 36-ish ability haste as like Riven, right? Dude, you know what it means to give 60 AD, 36% ability haste, and 5% Omnivamp on an item? Like, you know how broken that is? I don't know. Like, why do they want to buff this item? It's already OP. Next, we have Hubris. AD reduced from 60 to 55. AD per stack increased from 2 to 3. I would say this is net even. It's more greedy, which I like. It's playing into the fact like, hey, you aren't meant to have high AD on this item if you don't get kills. If you do get kills, it's really good. But if you don't get kills, it's all right. I like that. It's a good change. Current health damage reduced from 10 to 8 to 9 to 7. This item is currently, like, they're reworking it. It's going to be basically the new Duskblade. Sort of. No, not really. It's like Voltaic, but it's a little different the way that it works. And it applies on hits too. So it's kind of OP with Shiv. I see why they're doing this as an OP combination. 1% health damage is not a huge deal. Unless you're Bork and you apply it every auto. So, it's fine. Top bonus takedown XP reduced from 90 to 85. You get 5 less XP per takedown. That is literally nothing. You take like literally 700 XP to level up. Alrighty. We saw this already. We don't care about this. Stormator Surge, we've seen. Deathfire Touch, we've seen. New starting items, blah, blah, blah. ARAM Ornn buff, don't care. That is ARAM. Hubris, passive base AD reduced from 15 to 12. Okay, I can see a little bit of like an overall nerf needed because the item is kind of broken right now. Pretty cool. Deepest Champions, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's everything. All right. Well, that's an interesting patch. Overall, I like a lot of the things that they're doing. I like that they're adding new items. I like that they're trying to iterate and add more of these off-meta champions. I do wish that they were a little bit more descriptive about some of the things they've been changing on PvE. For example, they released Deathfire Touch as 1 to 10 AP, or sorry, 1 to 10 damage per second. But now it's 4 to 12 on PvE. So that's 3 extra. They went from 1 damage per second at level 1 to 4 damage per second at level 1. Effectively going from being a useless summoner spell at level 1 to being useful, which is information people need to know. So I wish they would post a little bit more about these things, but that was the patch rundown. Yeah, solid patch.